Buddy Jimmy Smith with my FightPicks.com breakdown of Bellator 222. Couldn't do it yesterday because I was on the radio for Sirius XM. Had a lot of fun doing it, but a free day today. So here's where I'm going to do my FightPicks.com breakdown. Once again, go to FightPicks.com. Use a promo code Jimmy Smith, all one word, uppercase to lowercase. See how you do. Really good card for Bellator 222 at Madison Square Garden. A lot of fights could go either way. Let's start out with Aaron Pico versus Adam Borics. This is a tough one. A very tough one, simply because it's either a big step forward for Aaron Pico or a huge step back. There's no middle ground here. Aaron Pico, incredibly talented, but 4-2, just getting his pro career started. He's had some trouble, and Borics is 8-0. Hasn't faced any big names, hasn't had any big fights. This is under the big lights, but Aaron Pico has had a trouble of running into experienced fighters and making mental mistakes. Did it last time he was in Madison Square Garden. Of course, knocked down and submitted. And the problem with that is there's no error for a guy like him. He came in with a ton of hype, really building him as the next big thing, LeBron James of MMA, and it's just been one step forward, one step back. And this one would be a huge step back. An absolutely gigantic one. A tough pick, maybe the toughest on the card for me. But I'm going Aaron Pico. I think he gets back on track quickly. And the way he gets back on track is usually fast KO. I think that's going to happen. Let's say KO round one. I think Aaron Pico gets back on track. Tough pick. Very tough pick. Could easily go the other way. Dylan Danis versus Max Humphrey. All you need to know about this one is you look this up on SureDog. Max Humphrey doesn't have a picture. Okay, this is a guy, Dylan Danis, obviously Bellator putting a lot of promotional muscle behind him. They don't want to have him fight someone he's going to lose to. So I would say it's probably a well-picked fight. I got to go with Dylan Danis by submission, probably round one. That's the easy pick. Eduardo Dantas, Juan Archuleta. I really like Eduardo Dantas as a fighter. He's really easy to deal with in person. Every time I had to work with him, he's absolute class. But I just see at this point, Juan Archuleta, they seem to be on different trajectories. Juan Archuleta moving up a bit. Eduardo Dantas, some trouble in his last few fights, moving down. Does he have another great veteran performance in him against a guy with a flashy record, but hasn't faced a lot of big talent in really big fights? That's the question. 21-1, outstanding, but hasn't taken on the names that Eduardo Dantas has. Hasn't worn gold like Eduardo Dantas has. Hasn't been in the big fights with a lot of attention like Eduardo Dantas has. I'm going with the young one in this one. I think maybe this is a turning point. Juan Archuleta takes a step up and does it. I think it's a tough fight. He probably wins by decision. I'm going Juan Archuleta by decision. Eduardo Dantas, great veteran, really well-rounded, but has had some injuries and has slowed down a little bit. Caldwell versus Horiguchi. Horiguchi, of course, winning this fight in Rizin in Japan by guillotine. Caldwell really wants this one back. I think the key to this one is going to be Caldwell is an incredible physical talent. If you saw him wrestle, which I did, explosive, unpredictable, unorthodox, takes incredible risks, and sometimes in MMA, that has cost him. He goes for stuff that's, I wouldn't say out of his wheelhouse, but explosive and dynamic when he could be sticking to his wrestling game, sticking with his bread and butter and doing what he's great at, rather than spinning high kicks that look great and sometimes land, but get him in trouble, taking large risks when a guy with his skill set doesn't have to. Against someone who's beaten him before by guillotine, which is a wrestler's kryptonite, I think he plays a conservative game plan. I don't think he tries to kind of break the mold. I don't think he tries to be the dynamic finisher he's been in previous fights. I think he goes for a decision. I think he makes it about his wrestling and his top game. Might be a boring fight, but I think Caldwell takes it by decision. Lyoto Machida versus Chael Sonnen. Chael, love you. You're awesome. Great working with you. Stand-up guy, but so is Lyoto Machida. Interviewed him this week for Sirius XM, and he talked about the trash talk of Chael Sonnen. He said, I don't mind it. He's got to sell the fight. There's the warrior martial arts mentality that I have, and then there's the selling the fight promotional stuff that Chael Sonnen does, and you need both of those to make a fight work. I'm a prize fighter. This is a money game. Chael Sonnen makes money with the way he talks. So I don't think Chael Sonnen's attitude and talk and anything like that is going to get under Lyoto Machida's skin. It never has. He's not that guy. It's about the tactics. Now, Chael Sonnen in Bellator has really been a mixed bag. Tito Ortiz maybe the worst fight of Chael's career in terms of how he looked and how he performed. Got back on track against Wanderlei Silva, but Wanderlei Silva, not the Wanderlei Silva we all know and love. It's a Wanderlei Silva, very, very over the hill. Beats Rampage Jackson, but once again, not a prime Rampage Jackson, and then laid out by Fedor. So it's been one step forward, one step back. But Lyoto Machida, I think, closer to his prime than a Wanderlei Silva, than a Rampage Jackson. Still fighting for a lot. A tricky, unorthodox style. Doesn't just come at you. That plays really into Chael Sonnen's strengths. I think Wanderlei did a little bit too much of that. I don't think Lyoto Machida does that at all. I think he waits, he bides his time, he reads Chael Sonnen, and he gets the KO, TKO, probably third round. Rory MacDonald, Neiman Gracie. I think this is the easiest pick. Rory MacDonald, of course, going to a draw with John Fitch, saying he doesn't really have the heart to hurt anybody, not really sure if he can keep doing this, blah, blah, blah. The problem is, if you're a fan of Neiman Gracie, is I think Rory MacDonald has the tools and the skills to beat Neiman Gracie, even if his heart isn't 100% in it. Even if he isn't firing on all cylinders, even if he doesn't want to hurt somebody, you don't have to hurt Neiman Gracie to beat him. He has to stay safe, stay out of the submissions, careful with the ground and pound, stay rangy with the strikes, angle a lot, and you're going to win a decision. I think he knows that. He's been training that. Douglas Lima, if he gets past Neiman Gracie, that will answer a lot of questions. You don't beat Douglas Lima without hurting him. You don't beat Douglas Lima without going to war. You don't beat Douglas Lima without getting bloody. That's a big question mark. Neiman Gracie, I think if Rory fights his smart game plan and doesn't do anything stupid, he can win the fight by decision. Very, very obviously hard to submit. World-class grappling in his own right. So it's difficult to imagine Neiman Gracie knocking Rory MacDonald out. It's difficult to imagine him taking him down at will. All those parts of his game have improved. He's gotten better. But his bread and butter is a submission game, and catching Rory MacDonald is going to be damn difficult. Taking him down and getting dominant position is going to be damn difficult. So I see Rory MacDonald putting in probably a lackluster performance, probably nothing great, staying safe, and winning a 5-round decision over Neiman Gracie. It's a safe pick. That's the way to go. So to recap, I have Aaron Pico. This is a tough pick, by the way. Getting back on track. KO, TKO, first round. Dylan Danis winning by submission over Max Humphrey in the first round. Bellator setting up with somebody they believe he can look good against. They're putting a lot of promotional muscle behind Dylan Danis. There's a reason for that. Eduardo Dantas, Juan Archuleta. Tough pick, but I'm going Juan Archuleta by decision. Darian Caldwell versus Kyoji Horiguchi. I go decision. I think Darian Caldwell plays it very safe, doesn't do a lot of the dynamic, explosive stuff we're used to seeing from him. Stay safe with his wrestling. Lyoto Machida over Chael Sonnen. I have KO, third round. Rory MacDonald over Neiman Gracie by decision. Once again, fightpicks.com. Use the promo code Jimmy Smith. See how you do against me, and I'll do a wrap-up, as always, after the fight. Enjoy.